Guan Shili, I'm from the law school here. With the China-US context right now being heated up, so I'm worried that with the economics means like the chips, like the trade, tariffs, everything, when these means they got exhausted and still failed to contain China, US is going to go with some hot war. Maybe Taiwan, the issue there, you already started to see that, US is having lots of moves on, McCarthy's meeting the Taiwan president, seems to be like provoking China to take some, more aggressive stance. So as a Chinese living in the US, having my career here, this is the worst nightmare that I can ever imagine. I don't want anything like that to happen. So and now the US, as you said, has this consensus between the parties that China is the only consensus. It seems like the media is also fanning the public of having some taking some more negative views of China. So my question is, will this heating context eventually go to a heated war? And if so, what's the exit? How can we prevent that?
Okay, thank you.
I mean, a great question. I mean, of course, you know that a war between two nuclear powers would be a disaster. You don't have a winner and a loser. You have a loser and a loser. I mean, even though China has far fewer nuclear weapons, until a few years ago, only 300 nuclear weapons. The United States is 6,000. Clearly, both sides would lose, right? I mean, can you imagine the United States with 50, 60 cities completely destroyed, right? Boston reduced to rubble. You can imagine that. That's what will happen in a nuclear war between the US and China. So I think both sides know that they have to avoid a nuclear war. But at the same time, you can have an accidental war. And the accidental war will start over Taiwan. And in fact, the tragedy about Taiwan is that it's very easy to keep the peace in Taiwan. Very easy. Don't change anything. US and China have a set of agreed formulas. US says it believes in a one China policy. The US says that it doesn't support the independence, right? Fine. Stick to that formula. Then there'll be no war. But if unfortunately, sadly, Bill, a Republican called Mike Pompeo wins the presidency of the United States in 2024, Mike Pompeo says he will recognize Taiwan as an independent country. Now, if he does that, there'll be war. China will invade Taiwan. I mean, that's very clear. In fact, that's the reason why I created an EDX course, EDX course on US-China relations, because I want Americans to understand that for the Chinese, they suffered a century of humiliation from 1842 to 1949. You must understand the century of humiliation if you want to understand the Chinese psyche. And this century of humiliation, all the traces have gone except one, Taiwan. And Taiwan was first separated from China in 1895 when China lost the Sino-Japanese War. So Taiwan has got tremendous amount of emotional and political power in the Chinese mind. And no Chinese leader can give up Taiwan. No Chinese leader can give up Taiwan. He'll be killed, right? So Taiwan is a red line which you mustn't cross. And we have a formula, the formula that was worked out for the last 50 years. Why has there been peace between US and China for 50 years? Because they have an agreed formula on Taiwan. But of course, when you start to change it, when Nancy Pelosi went to visit Taiwan, and Tom Friedman described it as a dangerous, irresponsible, reckless act, Tom Friedman was right. When you try to change the boundaries on Taiwan, you can trigger a war. So whatever you do, don't change anything on Taiwan, then I guarantee you there's no war.